Houston Texans firing Lovie Smith after just one season. Smith ended his run on a high note by pulling off a last-minute comeback to cap off a 3-13-1 season on Sunday. But the victory cost the team a chance to secure the first overall pick in this year's NFL draft, which goes to the team with the league's worst record. So Smith is the second black head coach fired in Houston in as many years, and the franchise let go David Culley last year. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith says the Texans have not been fair.
The Houston Texans organization are an atrocity. They are an embarrassment. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're an African American and you aspire to be a head coach in the National Football League, there's 31 teams you should hope for. You should hope beyond God that the Houston Texans never call you.
So joining us now is Bomani Jones, the host of Game Theory with Bomani Jones, which will kick off season 2 on HBO and HBO Max next Friday, January 20th. I think Steven wakes up screaming, "Good morning, everybody!"
Oh, he's ready.
Time to get up.
He's always ready.
But seriously, though, I mean, does he have a point? Because after Lovie Smith took this job last February, you said that you had no reason to believe that this would be lasting. Did you see this coming? Why did you say that?
Oh, because the whole organization is a dumpster fire. Like, the thing about it is, I'm not exactly sure who should take that job. Where he says no black person should take that job. I wouldn't recommend no white man take that job either. Now, when Lovie got it, you have to remember, word was going around that they were thinking about hiring Josh McCown, who's a former NFL quarterback whose only coaching experience is in high school. And it looked really bad while the league was being sued for discrimination about its hiring practices with coaches. What then happened is Lovie Smith, who has an impeccable resume, wound up getting the job. But nobody was going to give him that job, and anybody else was going to give him a head coaching job. So what the Texans are is a job where I think the last 2 times they've hired black dudes, largely because no self-respecting white man would go take that job. Like, they were down to the people who they felt like had to take the job. David Culley, whose name had never come up in a coaching discussion before, and then Lovie Smith, who probably had his last chance already. So that's how you get here.
Why would he take it? This was his last chance? Why would Lovie take this job?
It pays better than not being a head coach. Like that was the thing, like when David Culley got it, like, why would he take it? Because it pays a lot better than being a receivers coach.
But there are big questions about, I mean, they went 3-13. I mean, they had a disastrous season. I think they've had 4 head coaches. They've been on 4 searches for this in 4 years,
yeah.
right? So it's a whole other conversation about the Houston Texans overall and what a disaster they are internally, but it does raise questions and put a spotlight on the diversity in the NFL, which we just talked about, when we launched the show and what that looked like, and also with Brian Flores. And so I wonder what the spotlight of the takeaways from this are, given his firing.
Well, I think it'll be easier for us to talk about the takeaways after we get through this hiring cycle. There are 5 jobs that are open, and we'll see who winds up getting the jobs, what their backgrounds are, and everything else. The thing that happens every year when coaching jobs come around is we effectively wind up having the same discussion every single year about it because the problem is the same every single year about it. But rarely do the individual details matter that much. It's a big, grand, macro tracking issue that gets us to where we are with the lack of coaches of color in the NFL, which is better, I think, now than it was maybe 3 years ago, probably not as good as it was about 15 years ago. It's only going to change as much as the owners of the franchises actually wanted to change, and if they recognize this as a macro level problem. They did recognize that 20 years ago. I don't think they recognize it as much now, but I think they recognize it more than they did 5 or 6 years ago.
But it's a vicious circle, right? The black owners, black coaches, it's all connected.
Well, I think the cycle is very similar to the Voting Rights Act cycle, which is you look up and you think things are good enough to where, hey, we don't need to pay that much attention to these safeguards that we have in place to make sure fairness is there. We can just throw that out. People have gotten better. And then next thing you know, you look up and everything is what it was before. It's the same thing we saw with affirmative action in education, is that that's the point that you get to. So when the Rooney Rule first came in, they should really call it the Johnny Cochran Rule, because they were afraid that Johnny Cochran was going to take them to court. And ain't nothing scared white people at that time more than the idea that Johnny Cochran was going to take you to court. He was a magician, right? But they put the rule in, and then once they did put that rule in, you saw a lot of black coaches get hired. You saw some changes happen. Then after a while, gradually, people stopped thinking that this is an issue. It slows down, then you look up and it's 2. And then people look up and say, hey, man, it's only 2. And it's like, oh, I guess we got to do something about that. But the individual owners don't necessarily want to have to be the one to do this. They want to hire the guy that they wanted to. I say all that to say unless somebody's going to take them to court, I don't feel like they'll be truly dedicated to fixing the problem. But I do think that right now, when you look at the ranks, it does look better than it did just a couple of years ago when it was only 2 coaches a coach.
And now it's only 6 minority coaches.
Yes.
And one of them's an interim coach of the Panthers. What would you do? What would you do instead if the Rooney Rule is not working?
But the Rooney Rule, it's not the Rooney Rule that's not working.
Well, you talked about
It's
the owners.
People.
And you talked about the owners, too,
Yes.
right? Remember the Jerry Jones Washington Post piece? And Don and we had the reporters on, and we were talking a lot. And he told the Washington Post, admitted there is more that I could do to really lead change on this in the league.
Yeah. Well, I think some steps have actually happened that the NFL doesn't quite get enough credit for. One, there are a lot more black coordinators in the NFL now than they were before, and that's typically the tracking position that gets you to head coach. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're disproportionately defensive coordinators, which does not necessarily track to being a head coach in the same way. But I do think we've seen some improvements in the assistant rank. Like, I don't just want to say the league has done absolutely nothing. Like, I think there are people that recognize, but the thing that's going to have to improve and the thing that's going to have to be, I don't know if fix is the right word, the people in charge have to think that this matters. Now, my thought is, they're really bad at hiring coaches. I would turn over every stone if I could. Whatever they've been doing before had not been working. Get desperate enough to call the black and brown dudes. Like, at this point, you got to realize, hey, maybe I'm not that good at finding good white coaches. Maybe I need to try my hand over here with the black dudes. I might be a little bit better at that. I would give that a run, right? If I'm not good at it doing it one way, we'll try anything. That would be my play. Instead, you get the Houston Texans who decide, well, we're going to hire black coaches when nobody else will take our job.
Yeah. Well, you know the first part you said ain't going to happen. People like to hire people who they know.
People do, but also sometimes people like to be the one that had that super-duper bright idea.
Super-duper.
And they're one to figure it out.
Thank you.
You always make us wiser. And you had this whole studio cracking up at your Johnny Cochran.
Because he's a magician.
Not a lot of Texans fans in here.
So apparently, Bomani, thank you, friend.
Thank you.
Game Theory with Bomani Jones will kick off a 2nd season on HBO and HBO Max in just a few weeks on January 20th.